Hello, everybody and every pony. We're back for the reaction video for The Well. I really quick want to go over something very important. That last comment from my last video, you need to get up off here. Can't be doing that. When you bring personal shit up on here, that's not cool. I don't tolerate that. So you can watch my videos, and I still got my Facebook up, but don't be talking on here. I don't need you even being on here for real. Cause then you mess up my groove, you mess up everybody else's groove. That shit's not cool. Quit it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry about that, people. The rest of you can comment, but the person I'm talking to is my ex. She does not need to be on here. She doesn't need to be bringing personal shit up. I'm sorry about that. But that did make me angry for real. So quit it. Thank you. Anyway, we're going to be listening to The Well. It is written by Blue Colton, and it's read by Sparrow9642. I've read a couple, I haven't read, but I've heard a couple of Sparrow stories, and they're pretty good. And again, I want to give big shout-outs to the Scribbler Productions. They're really good. Lost Narrator, Curse Word, and Magpie. I really like that story. That shit's pretty cool. But we're about to go into the month of Macabre. Macabre or Macabre. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong again. But it's a dark fic reading, and usually they have the months pass by with a new horror fic to read. But right now we're going to be reading The Well. Like I said, it's an Applejack and Apple Bloom story. So without further ado, let's begin the reaction. Damn, man. I have to give it to the animators that did this too. It is really good. I like that. Yeah, and I'm using my tablet for the sound again, if you guys didn't know. Ah! I just turned
Thunder bellowed like an invisible serpent. The wind hissed through the trees. While leaves still clung to the branches, struggled to hold on. Many surrendered, the leaves torn violently from their boughs. It would be a severe storm, they knew. Perhaps the wind would show them mercy by carrying them someplace safe. Safety, however, was the one thing in one particular pony's mind. Desperate hooves raced over the bare soil.
And also, real quick, I just want to say, I love the pictures. The pictures that were provided before, the thumbnail and all that stuff. Very good. Well done. For real, man.
A drum roll of violent urgency. The pony leaped over a displaced log, her golden mane flailing behind her like candlelit flames. When she landed, she didn't take a moment to rest. Her breathing was harsh, like some pony had just strangled her. But she didn't pause. She could not stop moving. Her heart raced against her chest as if it had hooves of its own. Tired, terrified, Applejack went on. Thunder boomed in the distance, a warning of things to come. Normally, the pragmatic mare wouldn't be stupid enough to be caught outside in such a storm. But she wasn't thinking about that right now. Right now.
I'm sorry, but you never catch me out in a storm. I mean, yeah, if I lost somebody out there, though, I'd probably be looking for them, too, but I wouldn't be doing that shit in the forest. Fuck that shit, you better put a bell or a GPS on some nigga before they go out there, because you ain't catching me out there unless I know where you at.
All she cared about was finding her little sister, Apple Bloom. After their latest Crusaders meeting, Apple Bloom was supposed to come straight home.
Again, the voices are perfect.
Philly failed to show up. Applejack went over to the clubhouse, only to find it empty. That's when she heard the storm. It wasn't the first time Apple Bloom had come home late. Applejack had scolded her on more than one occasion. She'd have a mind to her sister's yellow hide, a good tanning when she found her. But what she couldn't understand is what Apple Bloom would be doing out here with that storm bearing down on Sweet Apple Acres. Had something happened to her? Was she hurt somewhere in the woods? Did a timber wolf attack? All these terrible notions scratched at the inside of Applejack's head like raking talons. She felt sick thinking about them. She had to find Apple Bloom, had to make sure she was okay. And so, she fled the treehouse in search.
And by the way, is this in the Everfree Forest? Cause no, for real, I just know the trees. Like I remember for the first episode, Pinkie Pie was laughing, and then they were in the Everfree and shit, and she was making all the faces and stuff disappear. I don't know, but there's a lot of weird shit. I'm about to actually make a story about that. That's kind of what my story is about, is the Everfree and how it came to be, and who used to run things. And
Her baby sister.
Apple Bloom! Apple Bloom!
Her voice coarse from so much yelling.
Really good voice.
AJ paused to listen. Her breathing was almost as loud as the storm itself. Her keen ears panned around her head for signs of reply. When none came, Applejack began to run. She didn't know how long she'd been running. It seemed like forever. Applejack had grown up with these trees. She knew every square inch of Sweet Apple Acres.
Also, Sweet Apple.
Every apple tree, every fence, every.
But isn't that like connected to the
Yet
Everfree
never
a little
before
bit?
had the place she'd called home seemed so alien to her.
Like sort of like
It's as if she had stepped into
lived near
some
the
warped
Everfree
version
Forest.
of the farm. The trees were less bright, more menacing. There was less grass here. Even the air felt wrong.
Apple Bloom! Apple Bloom!
AJ's frantic voice was drowned out
You
by
better
a
fucking
crash.
answer.
It sounded like a giant had just stepped into the woods. The tree came crashing down before her path with a bone-shattering stomp. Applejack cried out. She was almost crushed by the falling tree, and had just barely stopped inches from where the closest branch, its point sharpened to a spear's edge, lay pointed at her exposed neck.
Oh, hell no.
You do not belong here. The alien force seemed to be saying to her, leave, now.
Well, then I'd probably
Gasping,
take the
the
hand.
element of honesty
No, I'm
fell
just
on
kidding.
her
If there was somebody I was
backside.
looking for.
She'd come so close to death just now. She could feel the grim pony standing just behind her, his icy breath causing every hair on her body to stand on edge. She felt cold. Her breath formed into a thick mist before her. Overhead, she saw a lightning flash. Arcs of brilliant blue and white began to stab down at the earth like angry lances. She didn't have much time. It took AJ more than a minute to realize that she had lost her hat. She found it sprawled on the ground not more than 5 feet from her. It felt like losing part of her body. Applejack quickly reattached the part of herself to her head. Whole again, the mare shook off that near-death experience and leaped over the fallen tree. She would not let anything stand between her and finding her sister. Death could kiss the fattest part of her. Applejack skidded to a halt. She knew that voice anywhere.
Apple Bloom!
Tastes like apple cider.
She called out. Damn the storm. She would scream that name until it answered back.
Apple Bloom! Applejack?
The tiny voice replied.
Damn apples.
It sounded nearby, and yet so far away.
Sounded like
Hollow,
Where's she at?
as if an apparition of sound.
Hang on, Sugar Cube!
Applejack took off at full gallop. She ran, for how long she could not say. Ultimately, her wild flight through the forest, chasing down the voice of her sister, led her to a very unexpected and unfamiliar place. A well stood before her. It was old, ancient even, with vices crawling up its sides and moss clinging to the stones.
Oh, you know that's
It was
not
half
good.
boarded up, the wood rotten and peeling. A rope dangled off the edge like a dead snake with a broken basket by its side.
You know, all this picture needs now is a lot of blood leading up to the well. People being dragged in there. For real, that's all that bitch need right now. I mean, if the atmosphere wasn't even scary enough, like, you know that shit was abandoned for a reason. Like, you ever find something and you know that shit looked like it was just dropped, like, on purpose, you know, and it was supposed to be left there? Don't pick that shit up. Don't. And I apologize for that sound. That's my phone. But don't pick it up. Leave it alone. Leave shit alone.
The well stood beside a wall of stone that towered over it like some sort of sinister sentry. Both were surrounded by a ring of trees.
Pick up some
The
Jesus.
sky opened up to witness nature's oncoming fury. Applejack did not recognize the well. She did, however, recognize the voice coming from inside.
Apple Bloom?
She rushed toward the well. She could smell putrid water and foul things coming from within. A scent reminiscent of, well, of wrongness. Her
Yeah.
nose scrunched up at the smell of it. What in the name of Celestia was Applebloom doing out here? Peering over the edge, Applejack saw.
Maybe because she wasn't out there. I mean, like I said, you see me coming up on a well, I'll just be like, no, sorry. Must have been a wrong turn. I'll head back to Sweet Apple, maybe chew a couple. For real, man. No, don't be going in there. What the hell? I don't know anybody in their right mind would think that in a rusty ass well, if there's no prints around it, that lead up to somebody landing in there, then there's definitely not a chance of someone being in there. I bet you. Especially no one would look over the edge if it smelled that bad. You know what I'm saying? Be like, woo! You fall right over. Hell no.
Only darkness.
No way am I falling in there.
The void reminded her of an open maw.
Apple Bloom?
Her voice echoed. The maw swallowed it up hungrily and opened up for more.
Sis? Is that you?
The tiny voice called back.
Applejack?
Water sloshed below.
What happened, Apple Bloom? How'd you fall down there?
I'm sorry, sis. I didn't mean to be late. I got lost and then... Please help me. I think my leg is broken.
That was all Applejack needed to hear.
No. That's not all you needed to hear. For real, like, how did it even know? How did it even know what was going on, though? That's what I'm really interested in.
With the wind picking up, Applejack
These
knew it was only a matter
monsters,
of
they're
time
just
before the
knowing.
storm
Some are
was
just
upon
all
them.
knowing. That's the scary bit.
Storms this close to the everfree forest were brutal.
Time to go. Time to
Even
leave.
The toughest earth ponies knew better than to spit in the face of heaven. They had to get home before
That's
it
a
was
lot
too
of not
late.
going back.
Glancing around, Applejack naturally
that
focused on the
flicker.
discarded rope. She felt it
Good
for
story, by the way. I
sturdiness,
really
was
like that
surprised to
one, too.
find that it was still strong, if a bit smelly.
Apple Bloom, I'm gonna toss a rope down the well. When it gets down, I want you to tie it around yourself. Can you do that?
AJ called into the well.
I think so. Hurry, Applejack. My leg really
I mean, you
hurts.
think so?
Applejack wasted no time in coiling the rope. She could feel the storm getting closer.
Why is there static?
Like a koi fish in the path of an oncoming
I don't like
tsunami. After checking it a second time for sturdiness, Applejack stood over the edge.
I don't like that.
Heads up, Sugar Cube. I'm lowering the rope.
Like feeding a wire
Definitely
through a wall.
better than using my hands trying to
Applejack
reach
began
in
to
there.
lower the rope. She stood on her hind legs, gradually feeding the rope into the well.
No.
Despite the urgency, Applejack kept a steady pace. Letting fear get the better of her would do no good, especially for Applebloom.
Can you see the rope?
She asked after a while. She had no idea how deep the well was,
I got it.
but as she was
I got
running
it.
out of rope,
Pull me up.
she figured
No.
she had to be getting close.
I think so. Yeah, I see.
I just pulled my whole
Applebloom
dread
called
through
back.
that shit.
Hope entered
Ah.
her sister's voice, and it wasn't long before Applejack felt a taut pull at the other end.
Great. Now tie the other end around your shoulders like I showed you.
Applejack felt the rope being pulled and twisted.
I got it, sis. I'm ready.
Applebloom pulled the rope.
Hang on.
Using her lower legs as leverage, the mare began to pull. Strong arms easily hoisted the filly upward. She only hoped Applebloom didn't accidentally bump her leg against the walls of the well. Eventually, exhaustion from all the running began to take its toll, and Applejack started to sweat. Her muscles protested, and her joints groaned. She could still feel a slight burning sensation from where the tree branch had almost impaled her. Behind her, the wind began to rush at her, as if it meant to push her inside the well.
Oh,
How you doing,
hell
Applebloom?
no.
Applejack said in an attempt to
Thing be a
divert
mouth.
her
Be like,
attention
oh,
to
you
the
almost
task
there?
at hoof.
Hold up.
I can see the light.
It sucks you
There,
in.
I saw a flash.
That would be the thunder. I've almost got you.
Chip pulled up almost as much rope as she
You
had
mean the
lowered.
lightning?
It began to coil at her legs.
I can hear you better. I can see the edge.
Applebloom exclaimed. Applejack beamed.
Great.
She was almost there. Then she heard something. It was more terrifying than any sound the storm could make. There came a stretching, the sound of something being torn. Applejack noticed at the last second the point where the rope and the well had met was beginning to give.
No! Apple Bloom!
It snapped. Apple Bloom screamed.
Apple Bloom!
Without thinking, Applejack dropped the rope and leapt in after her. With the gap in the wood being as small as it was, all she managed to get through was her right arm and a bit of her shoulder. She feverishly began to probe for her sister, knowing full well that she was already beyond her reach.
Apple Bloom!
Hot tears burned in her eyes. She had smacked her face against the side of the boards when she leaped in, and a trickle of blood seeped down her nose. She didn't care. None of it mattered. All that mattered was that she had failed her sister.
Applejack?
Apple Bloom's voice was very close. She must have caught onto something, a jutting brick perhaps, or one of the vines. She had not fallen to her death as Applejack had feared.
Sis! Reach for my hoof!
Applejack yelled.
Reach!
The storm was almost on top of them, so she had to scream to even hear herself.
I do apologize for that, people, but
She felt something fumbling for her hoof.
I'll get right to
It was
that.
wet and sticky. The smell of rot and dank filled her one good nostril. It was overwhelming, but she tried to ignore it despite her gag reflex kicking in. It was almost too slippery, but eventually her hoof did manage to grab Apple Bloom's. Her hoof was wet. Perhaps there was some water left in the well. Maybe it had cushioned Apple Bloom's fall. Small miracles.
I've got you.
Small
Don't
miracle.
you worry none.
Applejack?
As if the storm had suddenly ceased, a great sound pervaded the grove. The quiet was deafening. However, nothing surprised Applejack as much as the fact that her sister had spoken from behind her. Slowly turning her head, Applejack spotted Apple Bloom just standing there. The filly was soaked and covered in mud, her mane matted to an exhausted face. Her wide eyes were filled with confusion and apprehension, her little chest heaving with exertion. Aside from the fact that she looked like she had been through Tartarus, Apple Bloom looked none worse for the wear. Her jaw hanging, Applejack was at a loss for words.
What are you doing, sis? Why are you screaming for?
Apple Bloom? But I thought you were...
Applejack spoke as if she'd never seen her before.
I swear to God, it's like she turns around and then this thing's right up in her ear and says, "It's free real estate." I would have been dead, man. I'm sorry.
And into her body.
We already know that's not how it's going to go
Applejack
down.
turned back to the well where her arm was still more than halfway through the hole. Something
Can I have that
was
back,
holding
please?
on to her. Something wet. Something wrong. Suddenly, she was pulled towards the hole with horrific strength, her back legs kicking into the air.
Oh, hell
Apple
no.
Bloom screamed and dove for her sister's tail. She gripped with her teeth and pulled with all of her might. Her assistants
There's a
enabling
lot of that
Applejack
with
to get
all
her
of their
hind legs
might.
back on the ground.
I've been hearing that a lot.
Pain surged to Applejack's arm as whatever had taken it was slowly, but with increasing ravenousness, began to pull.
Let me go!
She screamed, growling like some feral animal. The mare pulled with all her might. She could feel the tendons in her arms stretching beyond their natural limits. It felt like whatever had a hold of her was going to tear her arm right out of its socket. She didn't want to lose the arm, but if she had to choose, she'd gladly cut it off if it meant freedom. Trapped animals did that all the time, chewing off their legs so they could manage to escape.
No.
But could she do it? Could she chew off her own arm?
What is it?
Apple Bloom cried through her
If it went
clenched
that
teeth.
far, that'd be pretty fucked
I
up.
don't know. Pull up, Apple Bloom. Pull!
Through their combined strength, the earth pony struggled against the thing within. Applejack felt sick. Whatever had her felt ambiguous. She couldn't tell whether it was a hoof, a claw, or a tentacle. All she knew was that it was wet, slimy, and did not want to let her go. It wanted to drag her into the well, into its domain, where she would never get out. The struggle went on for several agonizing minutes.
That's a party I don't ever want to attend.
The pain was unbearable. Applejack searched with all her earth pony might, her sister doing the same.
For real?
Try as they might.
If this were her hind legs, she could get out, I know that.
It felt like they were at a stalemate, but whereas the ponies would soon tire, the thing showed no signs of letting up. Just when it seemed that her arm was about to be torn off, Applejack was let go. She tumbled backward into her sister, burying the filly beneath her. Applebloom cried out, but was freed moments later when Applejack rolled off to the side. Her eyes wide, Applejack skidded away on her back, putting as much distance between her and the well as possible.
Get away from it, Applebloom!
The Apple sisters had retreated until they were sure there was no chance of the well so much as touching them. Never mind the creature in sight. Gasping, Applejack observed her arm. It was covered in black and brown gunk and smelled unbelievably bad. Small cuts appeared on the arm, with rivulets of blood dripping to the ground. A bit of moss clung to it as well, which Applejack quickly dislodged, wincing, for her arm throbbed with pain. Applejack felt like sitting there and crying. Her sister was in a better frame of mind.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I would too.
Applejack,
That shit would be terrifying.
So that Granny can look at your arm.
Applejack didn't hear her. She couldn't
Who
take her
wouldn't
eyes
cry
off the
from
well.
an attack like
What
that?
was that thing? How had it imitated Applebloom's voice? Then another question came to the forefront. How long had it been there?
Come on. Gotta go now.
Questions best safe
Plumbing her head into her calf, Applebloom forced her sister to get up. Half-dazed and barely coherent, instinct took hold of Applejack, allowing herself to be taken away. Applebloom stood on her injured side and firmly nudged her sister away from the well, into what she hoped was the general direction of Sweet Apple Acres. Behind them, the well remained as it had for uncounted years, alone but far from uninhabited. Some other lost soul would come along eventually. They always did, and it was patient. It was always patient.
And that, my friends, was The Well. The Well, of course, again, like I said, was written by Blue Colton, and it was read by Sparrow9642. I thought it was just Sparrow at like the start, but I think like people changed their names over the years. So, but like I said, I do apologize for those if I don't mention them. But I do want to thank everybody for getting me where I'm at, and still try to support me and say, hey yo. And again, you know, like you can watch my videos. For that last commenter, like you can watch my videos, but you can't be doing that shit. That shit's just not cool. My ex on here, you can't be doing that. Like when you bring in like bad stuff back up, it's just not cool. It doesn't work with the flow of my YouTube channel. That's not the whole point. I'm just trying to move on and make something new for myself, and I don't need that brought back up onto my channel. So you know, I'd appreciate it if you just stop commenting on my YouTube channel. Like you could do that on your channel if you want, but don't do that on my channel. You know, there's no place for that. So, but other than that, everybody else, thank you so much for trying to support me and let me know that everything's all good. And I'm glad you guys still want to see more reaction videos, and there will be. It's just gonna take me a bit of time. I gotta set up Film Fiction on one of my tablets. That's what I'm gonna do. That way I can either read the story and you guys can listen, or I'll just do a reaction on somebody else reading, and we'll do it that way. Now, if you guys want me to continue doing the animation, my pony self, let me know. I'll continue doing that. I still got my my dad's old laptop, so yeah, just hit me up and let me know what you guys think about that. That was a really good story. It was a short story. It was only like 18 minutes long, so it wasn't that big of a story. But we'll be listening to other ones that might be a little longer or shorter. But I hope you guys really enjoyed that. That was The Well with Applejack and Applebloom involved. And again, I'd like to mention the voices as well. Cadet Redshirt as Applejack, and Twidash FTW as Apple Bloom. Derek Pony was for the animation, Reverb Pony was the chilling music, and of course Scribbler Productions was pretty much allowing narrators to tell these really awesome stories. And it really was. I occasionally go back to this story and listen to it every once or twice. And that's what I like about it. Not only that, it's just the picture, the surround sound, the voice actors. You guys do a good job, for real. And I can't wait to hear more. So, and everybody can, like I said before, it would be really cool if we could just reanimate all these stories. Like, we actually make them into animations. That would be something for BronyCon, if we still have BronyCon for this year, 2020. For real, because people really want to be in that. But if you don't really prefer that and just like telling stories, that's fine too. It works for the imagination. When we listen to it. So I really did enjoy that story. I listened to that. I think really more than once, but I still like listening to it. It's good. So well done, Sparrow. That was really good. I like that. And Flicker was good. I always love that. I listen to that occasionally, every once or twice now. And it's still good. Every time you listen to it, it's still fresh. It's got that crisp. But anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm sorry if the sound was loud. If it was bad, just let me know in the comment box and I'll fix the problem. We'll try to redo it or something. Because I don't mind listening to it again and again. Because every time I listen to it, it's like a new adventure still. And I can't wait for my story to get done so y'all can listen to that and hopefully get more inspiration from it, and like all these other videos that we watch. So really do appreciate it. Haunted Gamer Pony, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. That might be like in a few days, but I'm literally gonna try to upload as quick as I can for you guys. So peace, and thank you so much for listening. I'm Haunted Gamer Pony signing out.